presentation is about biodegradation within an aerobic bioreactor landfill system that I've investigated throughout this environmental science laboratory course. So the purpose of this experiment was to observe how different materials break down over time under aerobic conditions and to determine which materials decompose the fastest. Throughout this presentation, I'll discuss the experimental design, observations, results, and the environmental significance of these findings. What is biodegradation? Biodegradation is a natural process where microorganisms, primarily bacteria and fungi, break down materials into simpler substances. Several factors influence decomposition, including oxygen availability, moisture content, temperature, and the composition of the material itself. This process is important because landfills receive millions of tons of waste every year, and understanding how materials decompose can help improve waste management practices. Aerobic bioreactor landfills are designed differently from traditional landfills because they intentionally introduce oxygen and maintain moisture to accelerate microbial activity. This allows biodegradable materials to break down faster and reduces long-term waste accumulating. Research question and hypothesis. The main research question for this experiment was how different materials decompose inside an aerobic bioreactor landfill. My hypothesis was that organic and biodegradable materials would decompose much faster than synthetic materials because microorganisms can easily use organic matter as a food source. In contrast, synthetic materials like plastics are more resistant to microbial degradation. I fully expected oxygen availability to further increase decomposition rates by supporting microbial growth. The variables. The independent variable was the type of material placed inside the landfill, and the dependent variable was the amount of decomposition that occurred after 4 weeks. Several controlled variables were maintained throughout the experiment. These included using the same container, maintaining similar moisture levels, keeping the same observation period, and preserving aerobic conditions throughout the investigation. Keeping these factors constant allowed the experiment to focus specifically on the effects of material composition. Landfill design and materials. The aerobic bioreactor landfill was constructed using several different materials. These included goldfish crackers, paper, a biodegradable nitrile glove, a wooden stick, cloth, a rubber band, a plastic straw wrapper, plastic straw, and aluminum foil. The container remained sealed while still allowing oxygen circulation and moisture retention. The experiment lasted for 4 weeks. Using both organic and synthetic materials allowed for a direct comparison between substances that are easily decomposed and that which resist decomposition. At the beginning of the experiment, all materials were placed inside the landfill container. During the first week, moisture conditions stabilized and microbial activity began. By the second week, some organic materials had already started to soften. By the third week, visible fungal growth appeared inside the container, and by the fourth week, all materials were removed, separated, and analyzed for the amount of decomposition that had occurred. Throughout the experiment, moisture remained relatively consistent. The results. The results strongly supported my hypothesis. The materials that decomposed the fastest were the goldfish crackers, paper, and the biodegradable nitrile glove. The materials that decomposed the least were the aluminum foil, the plastic straw, and the plastic straw wrapper. I also observed several additional changes. A strong earthy odor developed over time, which indicated microbial activity. White fungal growth became visible inside the landfill. Organic materials became softer, darker, and fragmented as the decomposition process continued. Plastic and aluminum foil showed little to no visible changes. These results demonstrate that material decomposition has a major impact on decomposition rates. Organic materials contain nutrients that microorganisms can easily consume for energy. Aerobic conditions further accelerated this process because oxygen supports bacterial and fungal growth. The biodegradable nitrile glove partially decomposed because it was specifically engineered to break down under certain environmental conditions. However, the plastic and aluminum resisted decomposition because their chemical structures are not easily broken down by microorganisms. These findings are consistent with scientific research that shows oxygen significantly increases decomposition rates in bioreactor landfills. Discussion. These results have several real-world applications. Improving landfill designs can help reduce the accumulation of waste over long periods of time. Aerobic bioreactor systems can increase microbial efficiency and accelerate waste stabilization. These principles are also used in composting systems and sustainable waste management practices. This experiment demonstrates that engineering solutions can help reduce environmental impacts associated with landfills. Reducing synthetic waste while increasing the use of biodegradable materials may significantly improve waste management strategies. Sources of error and improvements. There were several limitations to this experiment. Temperature fluctuations may have affected microbial activity. Moisture distribution may not have been perfectly uniform throughout the container. Differences in material size and surface area could have also influenced decomposition rates. Future improvements could include extending the observation period from 4 weeks to 8 weeks or even to 12 weeks. It would have been useful to compare aerobic and anaerobic landfill systems directly and use moisture sensors for more precise measurements. In conclusion, the hypothesis was supported. Organic materials decompose much faster than synthetic materials. Food waste and paper experienced the greatest amount of decomposition, while plastic and aluminum showed minimal visible changes. The experiment demonstrated that both oxygen availability and material composition strongly influence decomposition rates. Overall, the aerobic bioreactor landfills have the potential to improve waste management efficiency and reduce the long-term accumulation of landfill waste. Peer-reviewed sources. These peer-reviewed scientific sources were used to support the background information and interpretation of the results presented in this investigation. Thank you for listening, and that concludes my presentation.